Hi, I'm Arlene, and today I will solve absolute value equations. Okay, so the definition of absolute value is the distance of a number from zero. And one thing to remember is that distance is always positive or equal to zero. And that's, so for example, absolute value is denoted as this, and then, for example, x as to represent a number, and another line. These two vertical lines denote absolute value. So, for example, if I have x equals -5, so it would be these two lines, -5. So the distance of -5 from 0 is 5. So the absolute value of -5 would be 5. But the absolute value, the absolute value of 0, the opposite of 0, and 0 itself are all equal to 0. And that's something important to remember. Okay. Also, for example, absolute value of x cannot equal -2, because it would mean that because absolute value can never be negative. For the first question, we are solving for x, and the absolute value of x minus 2 equals 1. Okay, so for example, if you have absolute value of x equals 1, then there's x can equal 1 or x can equal -1. So the same thing happens for this equation here. So x minus 2 could equal 1, or x minus 2 could equal -1. And then you would solve it like an equation, and x equals 1. Okay, so here x is equal to 1 and 3. Okay, for the next question, you want to solve for both x and y. So here there is this value plus this value equals 0. And since there's the absolute value symbol on both sides of the plus sign, you know that both sides can't be negative values, and they somehow both add up to 0. So they both have to equal 0. Okay, so you know that you just have to set the absolute value of x minus 2y as 0, because 1/2 times 0 is 0. So x minus 2y equals 0. And here you can set this one as y minus 1/2 as 0. So y equals 1/2. And here you can plug in y, so x minus 2 times 1/2 equals 0. So x minus 1 equals 0. X equals 1. So here you have x equals 1 and y equals 1/2. Okay, so for the next question, it states if a and b are opposites and the absolute value of a minus b equals 6, find all possible answers of the absolute value of b minus 1. So here, since a and b are opposites, then a could equal -b, or -a could equal b. Okay, here. And you will find that opposites, like for example, -3 and 3, their absolute values, 3, they are both equal to 3. So opposites have the same absolute values. So here the a and b will have the same absolute values. So you want to find which two of the same positive numbers added together equals 6, and 3 and 3. But the thing is, one's positive and one's negative, and you don't know which one's negative and which one's positive. So you want to set up two scenarios. One is a equals 3, b equals -3. Other one is a equals -3 and b equals 3. To prove that both of them have equals 6 when they are the absolute values are 8. To prove that both scenarios work for answering that the absolute value of a minus b equals 6, I'll just solve it. So a is 3 minus -3 equals 6. So this would be absolute value of 6, which equals 6. So this is correct. And if I take it here, it would be -3 minus 3 equals 6. And it's the absolute value of -6, which is also 6. So that's also correct. So now here, in these two scenarios, you have two different values of b. So you can plug them into this, this absolute value of b minus 1. So one of them is -3 minus 1. And so absolute value of -4. So it will equal 4. Or it can be b equals 3. So it would be absolute value of 3 minus 1. And that would be absolute value of 2, and that would be 2. So all the possible answers of the absolute value of b minus 1 is 4 and 2. And for the last question, it's use the smallest possible answer in the equation absolute value of 2x minus 1 plus 2 to solve for x. Okay, so you want to know, you know that the smallest possible value of an absolute value is 0. So for example, if I set 2x minus 1 equals 0, then it would be you can write this equation as 0 plus 2 equals 2, and that would be the smallest possible answer. So then I would write it as the absolute value of 2x minus 1 plus 2 equals 2. Now I subtract 2 from both sides, so the absolute value of 2x minus 1 equals 0. So 2x minus 1 equals 0, since the absolute value of 0 is 0 and the opposite of 0 is 0. So there's only one answer for the absolute value of 0. So now you can do 2x equals 1 and x equals 1/2.